Hello everybody and welcome to my video, Getting Tidier. I hope you're all well and thank you so much to those of you that make up the 3,179 subscribers I currently have. It's so lovely to hear where you're from, your comments on my video that I read, so a massive thank you. If you're new here, I was working to get to 3,000 and it took a couple of weeks to get from like 2,998. It took a while just to get over to 3,000, and now suddenly I've nearly got another 200. So if you haven't shared where you're from, we'd love to know. I've got a map of all the different counties of where all different people are from, the states in America, and then all the different European countries. But some of you haven't subscribed. Now, if you are willing to subscribe, I can see that you regularly watch my videos, but you're not subscribed. It would massively help me if you would be able to click the subscribe button, which is of course free for you, and also the bell icon. So you're going to see lots in this video and me sorting out the dining room once and for all. You'll see me clearing up all the table, rearranging a number of things that are in the dining room. I do some work in the kitchen. I do some sorting in the lounge. And you'll also see me really focused to get more space back. I feel like I've lost space in my dining room and I really need to do something about that. So you'll see I make some changes to move things around, and now the room somehow feels a lot bigger. So quick update on what we've been up to. Last time you would have remembered me saying about how we had some sort of lurg going around the house. That seemed that me and my daughter just had a bit of a sore throat and our bodies took care of it. My husband had like sneezes and runny nose and sort of some more symptoms. But thankfully he's got rid of it now, which is really good. So we had a nice weekend. I mentioned before that on the Saturday we went to Smith Toys to have a little look round, and my daughter just wanted to see if there's anything else that she wanted to get with her Christmas money. She's really good with that, so half of her Christmas money goes straight to her savings, her long-term savings. A quarter goes to her money for going on holiday, and the other quarter she can spend. And I did say to her, well, you don't have to put quite a quarter for your holiday if you don't want to. You could spend a little bit more, because I do feel like that's like her Christmas money and it's nice for her to be able to treat herself. But she was keen to do that. She likes, when we go on holiday, she likes being able to look in the gift shops and buy a few different things and items where she can remember her holiday, which I think is nice. Don't know whether you remember me saying last year when we went to Holland in Easter, it was a really lovely trip to Efteling. That was actually where a lady mentioned about my YouTube channel, which I was quite taken aback by. But we had a really nice time there. But I think my mother and father-in-law got a little bit fed up with me and my daughter going in the gift shops. We don't buy any things every single time we go in, but we just like to look. And towards the end of the holiday, my daughter treated herself to a really nice umbrella, which I felt tempted to buy myself, that when it rains, you get all these pictures of like fairies and toadstools and things. And with her other money, she bought a little musical box, which you wind and it plays a little song, really nice. And they made a couple of comments like, oh, buying things from the gift shop. And I said, and how we were spending time looking and spending money. And I said, well, that is actually, it's Easter, and the money she's spending is actually from Christmas. So it's only because she's been really careful with her money. Other children potentially would have spent it all, wouldn't they? So I didn't see what the problem really was with that. And then the rest of Saturday we spent at home. And then on Sunday, we went to church in the morning, came back, and again did some jobs around the house, and my daughter did her homework. And we all really just like to spend Sunday afternoon at home, kind of finish some things off and get ready for the busy week ahead really, rather than sort of rushing around. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the layout of this room. Now the way that I've got the table means that people come from the door, they walk past and they can go outside. Now in the summertime we are backwards and forwards all the time. But that does make me feel a little bit like it just becomes a walkway as opposed to a dining room. And then also stuff just gets left on the dining room table as people walk in, walk past, things don't get put away, etc, etc. Then you've got the pile of musical instruments in the corner by the cabinets, and then you've got the little area where my daughter's school books are. Then we've got a comfortable chair in the corner. So it does feel like there's not really that much room. So I decided first of all to completely clear the table. With the things that you can see that I've got on the table, I picked the items up. Rather than just putting them like in the doorway of the room they belong, I actually put them away. There was about 2 or 3 things I just didn't know where to put them, and I've put them at the moment on the windowsill. There's a couple of things which actually I think are broken. So you'll see there's an old personal stereo which I was trying to set up for my daughter to use, but my husband checked that and it's all gone rusty inside, so we've put that in the bin. And there's also an old timer which goes on the tap outside, and I'm pretty certain that's broken, but my husband hasn't put it in the bin. Then I've got the pile of things in that yellow box that have sat downstairs since before Christmas. All of these things need to be put onto Gumtree or Facebook Marketplace. So I decided that once I'd done my big tidy up, I thought, right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to put all these items on Marketplace. And I'm going to advertise them. If I don't get a sale, then they're going to the charity shop. So you can see that I really wanted to clean under the table and do a proper job there. So I moved the chairs to one side. And then can you see yet by the piano, that bag? That's all my daughter's school books from last year, which I didn't feel like I could make a choice on. I needed her to go through and decide what she wanted to keep and what she didn't. She put a massive great pile of books in all the things that she wanted to bin, and there were about 3 things that she wanted to keep. So I'm afraid I did take a couple of books out of the pile that she wanted to get rid of, largely because they're things that she's worked really, really hard on. A lovely example of her school year. So probably only 4 books. So I'm trying not to go down the route of keeping everything. Which is what my mum did for me, which is very kind of her, and it was nice to look back on. But then I found it hard to get rid of some of it as an adult. So I thought, well, I'm going to give her the choice now. And she quite liked going through and saying, oh, I did 3 maths books. I went through 3 maths books, so she liked that. And also in the pile of all the things she wanted to get rid of, I found some beautiful watercolour bookmarks that she's done. I said, did you mean to get rid of these? And she said, oh no, didn't see those. And then you'll see that I then sort of look at each of the corners of the room and think, what can I move out? What else can I get rid of? Because I just felt like there was too much stuff. I've got a box there of Stiff Bears, which I need to do something with. I've got all my seeds, which I probably need to find another home for, and I might get rid of that comfy chair in the corner. Now my daughter said, oh, we use that a lot. We often sit on that, and we do. But I just wonder whether it would be better if we didn't have it in that room. So I'm thinking about moving that out as well. The next area that I wanted to focus on was the fireplace. So I've got a lovely vase there that my mum gave me for my 40th birthday present. I absolutely love that vase. And then also I reflected on, somebody made a couple of comments about my cheese plants, and they said, why don't you merge them and put them into one pot? And I thought it was quite a good idea, but the only thing was I'd actually taken a cutting in order to grow the cutting on and then sell. So what I decided to do was clear out the area for the fireplace and put the plants in there, because I thought at the moment they're taking up space on the floor, whereas if I use the space where the yellow bag is, I'll be able to have more space, floor space. And then the yellow bag is full of various things that I'm planning to sell at some point. So I've got some little ladybird timers, like the timers that I use when I'm timing myself in the house. and I've got some signs which say, please take your shoes off. So at some point I'm going to put them on for sale. Then I decided that I need to cut down on some of the instruments. So the most obvious instrument to remove from the dining room is the saxophone. So the saxophone is taking up a lot of space and is rarely played. So I decided that that could come out of the dining room and go upstairs. So all in all, I did end up with feeling like the room was a lot more open, and there was just a lot more space, and in theory, the whole room then becomes easier to clean. Because there's less things that you've got to clean around, if you see what I mean, particularly as how I've moved the plants. So let me know in the comments what you think. I know that the basket area with all my daughter's books has got a little bit out of control. I do need to do something about that. But overall, I'm really pleased with the changes that I've made. So on Monday, I went to the supermarket and had my home day. So I managed to get a lot done on Monday. I did a lot of this work on Monday because my husband came into the room later and he was like, wow, you've made some good changes in here. It looks much, much better. And then Tuesday, I had meetings all day. So it does feel like I'm now recording this and it is Tuesday, but I actually feel like it's Thursday. It was a funny sort of day today because my husband was in London, so I had to get up and sort everything out for me and my daughter, make my lunch because I knew I wasn't going to be home. Then I had a meeting this morning for a new learner that's just started on programme, so I met with her and went through all the paperwork. And then I had to drive into the office, and I'm trying to find people that work connected to my job number 2. But there was like nobody in at all. So I ended up sitting on this floor pretty much by myself. There was this one lady that I briefly spoke to from another department. And then I had a meeting for my first job, which was amongst all the directors. And it's funny because this particular organisation, I waited outside. I could see them all in the meeting room. And I don't think they had been briefed that I was coming into the meeting face to face. I'd been told by one of the PAs, you need to go in, the director prefers if you go in face to face. And I checked my diary and that was possible for me to do that, even though I don't normally work with job number 1 on a Tuesday. So they called me into the meeting via Teams, not realising I was just standing just outside. So I went in, it was just so apparent to me. It was just so straight away hit me that there's like the whole table are all men apart from one other woman. So I think there was probably one man who was slightly younger than me. Everyone else was older. And to have such a group that's all just men just seems quite incredible, really. But it reminded me for a split second, I probably told this story before, when I was a new manager and chairing one of my first meetings, I was new manager to this particular organisation. I had worked in management for a few years, but I would have been 28 or 29 and people started arriving, and I knew that I like to always start at dead on the time, but I knew if I started dead on the time, only half the people would be there. So it got to about sort of 3-4 minutes past, and someone asked me about the refreshments and about the teas and coffees, so I just answered. And then someone else asked me about the actions from the previous meeting, so I answered. And it suddenly dawned on me, so these men would have been late 40s, 50s, 60s, and I was late 20s. It suddenly dawned on me that they had made the assumption that I was the business support, that I was doing the minutes, that I was taking the notes. And I didn't say anything. I thought, no, I'm going to wait. And we waited a couple more minutes. It got to 5 past, and I said, right, okay, I think the majority of people here, so we'll get going. So my name, and then introduced the agenda. And as I said it, I glanced at 2 of these men who'd been asking me about the teas and the sugar and the minutes. And their faces looked visibly shocked. It was absolutely priceless. But when I went into this meeting, I thought about that time and I thought, my goodness, I'm much older now than my 28-year-old previous self. But for a split second, it reminded me of that time. Strange sort of feeling. So that went okay. Some of them sort of knew more about what I was talking about than others, so it was easier. Some of them asked questions which showed that they hadn't been aware of the background, but that was fun because I went through that. And then I went back to my desk, sitting in my area where there was nobody else working, and I had an appraisal with my manager for job number 2, which went very well, and she was very lovely and said some really nice things about my work and how things have been going, which is great. I also asked her about a term time contract. So for job number 2, I could change my contract so I only work in term time. But then what she also said, my contract is what they call an annualised contract. So that means it works out roughly how many hours I should do a week. But actually the requirement is for me to do that amount of hours in a year. But what I was explaining to her was that when I was on a 0 hours contract, when I had holiday over the school holidays, I would literally be there with my daughter and then I might work a few hours, a couple of evenings. So on a 0 hours contract, I might claim 4 hours on the week that she was on holiday for half term. And then the week after, I might end up doing loads more hours, like I might do 20 hours. And overall, when you work it out, that works out to be about 12 hours a week. But now I'm on this contract where I should be doing roughly 14, 15 hours. If I do 1 week of half term and do it the same, so I don't do many hours, which is fine, I'm allowed to do that with the way my contract's written. That means the week after, I'm doing 14 and a half hours plus the 10 hours, which is really, I feel today, absolutely exhausted. I've been out in the office, various different offices all day, and I feel mentally and physically really, really tired. And I think part of it is mentally, it is draining, switching between different jobs. And then on the way from one of the jobs to the other job, I looked at my phone when I got there and I'd got 4 missed calls from the plasterer. Really, really lovely man, but doesn't always understand what is being asked, which can make jobs quite complicated. Just to give you one example, I specifically explained that the reason why I wanted to have 2 walls plastered, 2 walls skimmed, was to cover up where a fire had once been, an old-fashioned fire. So I had this sort of detailed conversation on the phone. Yep, that's fine. And then when I got the first set of photographs to see what had been done, I noticed that the plasterer had plastered around the fire opening. So I contacted them and just said, you did remember, didn't you, that the reason why I had that wall plastered was because I'm getting rid of the fire. I've had the fire removed and I'm not having a fire in that area. I want the whole wall skimmed. Oh, I see, he said. I wasn't to know that. And I thought, okay, well, we did have that conversation, but I didn't say that. And then time's gone on, so other work's been done, so work in the hall, work in the bathroom, etc. And when I saw these 4 missed calls, I called back, and then I saw that I'd got several messages. I called back and left an answer machine, and I saw these messages, and that said, I've done about the fireplace, and then also about the ceiling in the bathroom. So he rang me back after I'd left a message, and he said, now about these fireplaces, and we sort of had this conversation. He said, so I said, well, it looks like part of the work that's needed to be done in the bathroom you can't do quite yet, so I'll pay you for the majority of work you've done, and I'll keep a small amount back until you've done the last few jobs. He said, yeah, he said, that's fine. He said, so that will be the bathroom wall and the fireplaces. And I'm thinking like, no, not the fireplaces. So I said, oh, well, do you remember when we talked about the fireplace? I explained to you that the only reason I had it skimmed was to cover up the fireplace. Otherwise, I'd have just had it papered. And he said, oh, yeah, I wasn't to know that. I thought, oh, dear, we're going round in circles here. But hopefully he now fully understands what it is that I mean. Anyway, I'm going to go through some of your comments now. Sometimes when I talk about my day, that makes me feel even more tired. After I've done this voiceover, I need to get up and clear out the kitchen, sort the kitchen. But first, I'm going to go through some of your comments. Now, thank you so much to those of you that take time, thought, energy to make suggestions, share with you information about your life, where you've told me about like the weather and I know in some parts it's really, really cold and it's been snowy. Also, I've got to tell you that 2 people have received their plant hangers, and it's so lovely that they've sent me a photograph, which I'm really, really touched by. So it's just so lovely getting to know you all. So the first comment that I wanted to mention, I touched on this actually before, from Ginny Smith. Now, we had this conversation about citric acid, and Ginny mentioned to me that I can get it in B&Q Norwich, and citric acid works really, really well. But you might have seen in my last video, I did use citric acid on lime scale. Now, for those of you that live in Norfolk, I got my citric acid from Thorns in Norwich. Now, Thorns, for those of you that have never been to Norfolk or Norwich, Thorns is an independent shop. It's been in the same family for decades, and there's basically nothing from a DIY or hardware perspective that they don't sell. If you wanted, one screw that's 2 inches long, 6 nails that are 4 inches long, whatever, they sell items for your shoes, they sell polish, they sell paints, they sell anything under the sun. And I was in the city and I thought, I bet you Thorns sell citric acid. Yeah, £3.19. I got a box. I've got 2 boxes. So I managed to find the citric acid. I've poured some down the toilet, but unfortunately what it was very clear that I needed to do was take all the water out. So it's a bigger job than what I originally thought. So I'm going to be making a point of cleaning my toilets in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to take all the water out, and then I'm going to put citric acid in and just leave it to soak. Next comment is from Rebecca. Now, number of people have been sending their best wishes to Rebecca and Richard. Richard is a teacher, had an accident at school, wasn't it, Rebecca? Wasn't it on the playground, if I remembered correctly, or outside? And Richard fell and has injured himself quite badly. So Rebecca was put, thank you so much for your kind words and for thinking of us. It really does mean a lot. The speech and language lady was lovely. From the assessment, they are saying Richard has significant cognitive communication disorder. I unfortunately had to cancel our lawyer as I had that awful sickness bug. I hope you're well. Your house is really starting to show all your hard work. You get things tidied a lot faster. Thank you, Rebecca. I do feel like I can tidy up quicker than what I used to, because I'm sort of keeping on top of the mess and the clutter a bit more and keeping surfaces clear. Now, Rebecca has updated me to say that the meetings do seem to be going well with the speech and language lady, and that she gets on very well with Richard, which is good. Because, you don't want anything to be overwhelming in that situation. But I did message Rebecca back and say, well, how is she doing? Because this is a massive, massive thing to be going through and dealing with. And they've also got children. So to make sure the children are okay and, they're all fine at school, etc., etc., is a big thing for them to deal with as well. So I just hope that Richard continues to go from strength to strength. That's what I pray for. That he's going to continue getting stronger and stronger, and things are going to get better and better. Now, often, not always, but often, they do, certainly with the NHS, they do talk about the worst case scenario. And, you know, talking about something like, obviously, if that's a diagnosis, significant cognitive communication disorder, that's really, really worrying and upsetting. But things can still improve and improve regularly and strongly. Completely different situation, but I don't know whether I mentioned before, but I know somebody that had an accident. They were actually just walking by the side of them in the garden at their aunt's, and they slipped, and their leg went in such an angle that they've caused, they were told, permanent damage, connected to part of their leg, their ankle, and all the way through their spine. Now, they were told by, you know, the experts that it was like 90% chances that they would never walk again and spend their life in a wheelchair. And they've kept on and on, despite that diagnosis, they've kept on and on and on. And last time I saw them a couple of months ago, they were standing and walking slowly, very slowly, but out of the wheelchair and walking. So I just think, you know, one day at a time, small improvements, and the fact that you've got a really good speech and language person who sounds very supportive and kind, I think you're going to see some real strong improvements. Let's hope for that, one day at a time. Karen Davis says, I love the bear pictures. And about light, I do a sort of visualisation every day where I see the earth surrounded by beautiful white light, and I put prayers for peace into the light. That's really lovely. And Emma, you are definitely getting tidier. Thank you for sharing that. What a nice thing to visualise. Holly says, wow, those bears. That's what I thought. I love the picture of the bears. Cammy says, what's the name of your other channel so I can follow it? I think you found me now on there. Emma's Life in Norfolk. So in a minute, I'm going to move on to my freezer. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to do a quick clip where I open the drawers in real time so you can see what the freezer's like. It's so jam-packed full, I have to squish and squash things and ram the doors shut, which has resulted in one of the doors breaking. So I decided that I really didn't have much idea as to what was in the freezer. I was buying things, then realising that I'd already got some things in the freezer. I also decided that for the next few weeks I don't want to spend so much money on food. And what I'm doing is I'm going to the supermarket, not thinking about what I've got in the freezer, not thinking about what I've got in the fridge sometimes, because we do a small shop on Saturday to get some bits in for the weekends. So that was my thought process. So I decided to get everything out and go through it. Oh my goodness, there were some broad beans in there which had almost turned into, you know, if you go to any sort of space museum, you can get that dried food that is actually edible. Well, it had gone like that. There was some fish in there and some meat in there, which must be, well, I don't know. I don't know when we got the freezer. It must be a few years. And it was before that. So it's been in there for absolute years. There were some prawns, which had almost felt like dust. And then there was a piece of fish it's got a free from batter. I was going to give that to my daughter on the Monday evening, but when I felt it, I felt like there was no weight to it. And I asked my husband, I said, what do you think? He said, oh no, that's gone all like dry and really strange. So I managed to get rid of quite a lot of things that just really were past the best. Then I cleaned all the drawers out and wiped them all out. There was also loose food in the bottom of them. So just where some of the packets had overspilled. So I went through all of those. And then there were some ice creams that we bought, and my daughter's really not very keen. And I'm not one, as you know, I'm not one just for eating for the sake of it. even if I wasn't doing this fast, there was different ice creams there, which she's not keen on, that there's no point me eating them. So the ice lollies went down the sink, and then there were a couple of other ice creams that I melted and put the sticks, the lolly sticks went into the fire for kindling, and the rest of it went down the sink. So when I then put everything back in the drawers, wow, it felt like there was so much more space in them because I just had such a good clear out. And also much, much clearer as to what I've got in them. And what I said to my husband, for the next really couple of months, I mean, I've got 3 bags of bassa. 3 bags of bassa. I've got 3 lots of salmon. So if I work this out, I've got like several meals here. So I'm going to run things down so I don't end up with, I like having like 1 bag, but I don't need 3 bags. That's just ridiculous waste of space. And I can then keep that space. So when I see other foods reduced, I can buy them and put them in the freezer. Right, next comment is the lovely Joanne from Dereham. And Joanne's name is Chelsea Football Club, Joanne, 1974. I'm guessing Joanne is a big Chelsea fan. But she's got to be a Norwich fan as well, seeing that she lives in Dereham, which is in Norfolk. I do hope you are, Joanne. So Joanne says, I agree with you. She's your daughter. It's your choice how you raise her, etc. I used to get comments from family as I homeschooled my daughter. Why is it their business? They are my children. Each child is different and needs a different approach. I would never let my daughter take the bus until she was 18 and had her first job. I'm not going to conform to pressure from the world and how others raise their families. She's your daughter. You're a close family like I was with my children. We always did things together like you do with your daughter. She's now 31, married, 2 children and drives, so I'd say a well-rounded adult. If I'd listened to the busybodies on homeschooling, she should be scared to talk to people. So many children are allowed to roam and parents don't want them near them. It's so sad. I love your channel. Oh, thank you, Joanne. I very much appreciate that. So I did reply back and just commented in terms of people's negative comments about homeschooling and how that tends to be that people either just don't understand, they're jealous, or they're ignorant of the benefits of homeschooling. And I also just commented about, the importance of, following your own approach and your gut instinct. So I'm with you, Joanne. I've got the same views. And Louise Tilbrook says, all you need to budget is old-fashioned pen and paper and a calculator. I always put my mortgage, food and bills first and then work out everything else around those things, and I'm on a pension. I did reply and say, yeah, I agree. There's obviously the very clear outgoings. So I know a number of you said for your specific intentions or New Year's resolutions that you wanted to save more. And so I did reply to Louise and said, yes, mortgage and bills or rent and bills, and then save. And Louise said it is difficult to save. But she has special interest on bank account for different things. Needless to say, she didn't save anything over Christmas, and I probably won't get back to my savings plan until March because Mum and I are going to Sydney at the end of February. Woo! Wow, that is pretty amazing. That's not that far away. Are you ready? That'll be nice. No, I just think that often people say, oh, they can't save. I know people that say they can't save. And then when you see some people, obviously, that is very, very difficult. And I do understand that they can't save. But other people are spending so much money on so many different things that if they paid their mortgage or rent, paid their, critical utility bills, and then even if they saved £20, all adds up. I need to hear a bit more about that, Louise. That sounds like a fantastic trip. Now, before I go through my next comment, I just wanted to mention, shout out to those of you that are doing a fast, a challenge, and specific intentions, and how you're all getting on. So you know with me, I've given up sweets, chocolates, cakes, biscuits, crisps, coffee drinks, basically all the things that I define as treats. So what I find is that I found new treats, and my new treats have become things like olives with garlic, stuffed garlic, hummus. What else has been a new treat? I'm finding other things. Now, I didn't cut out alcohol and I didn't cut out fizzy drinks because I don't really drink that much alcohol, as you know, and I only have one Dr. Pepper on a Friday. So actually today I did have a glass of lemonade. So I've got to be careful that I don't end up drinking bottles and bottles. No, I won't drink bottles and bottles of lemonade because I restrict myself. But I'm not going to have like a glass every day because then it does become like a treat again. But yeah, I'm doing well with the sweets and chocolates and cakes and biscuits. Crisps, I have a packet of crisps every single day. Haven't thought anything about them. I have chocolate cookie twice a week. So lots of things. And as you know, I do love my cold coffee drinks, but I've not thought a single thing about them. I'm just thinking about my olives at the moment. So I'm doing quite well with that. I'm also doing well with my walk, my 30-minute walk or my cycle. Now, I've had 2 days, as you know, well, 3 days. 1 day that I completely forgot, 2 days which I didn't feel well for. And today, I'm not going to be able to do my 30-minute walk. And that's because I worked all day, came home, did the dinner. When my daughter popped down to see Grandma, when she came back, we watched a very small amount of television, and then it was her bedtime, and my husband is out this evening. So I physically can't go on a walk. So he's likely to get back at about 10:30, and I'm not keen on going out that late. Because I need to be getting to bed early and because I feel really, really tired today, but also because I was really scared the other night when I went out. My mum told me off for going out late. But I mean, thankfully we do live in a very safe part of Norfolk. But I was walking along with my husband's headset on, ear cancelling headphones, and I was listening to a podcast for work. And I picked up my phone, and I have to hold my phone because otherwise YouTube jumps. I can't put it in my pocket. And it was the end of the podcast, and I put a new podcast on, and I kid you not, as I brought it out of my pocket and I looked at it to choose a new video, in the corner of my eye, I could see a man sitting on the pavement. And I was like, oh, I was obviously really, I mean, this is like 10 o'clock at night. He's just sitting on the pavement. And he reminded me of somebody that I know of. He went to actually one of the local schools and moved away, and he had psychiatric problems and went in and out various different mental institutions. And this man sitting on, he looked exactly like him, but with no teeth. So he looked at me and gave me this big smile. Oh my goodness. I took my noise cancelling headphones off. I crossed the road immediately. I called my husband. Guess what? No answer. Called my husband again. Guess what? No answer. When I finally got in back through the house, I said to my husband, because he never, ever, ever answers the phone. He has the phone on silent all the time. And I said to him, like, if I go out in an evening again, I really do need you to have your phone volume on. I was really scared. So Miranda Friday says, I thoroughly enjoyed your video you put out before this. I watched Saturday morning and it gave me such a lovely feeling. The sights of your visit to the city, you are generally a lovely, thoughtful person. I've been watching you for a year and you are a firm favourite. Oh, what a really lovely, lovely post. Thank you so much. I'm honoured to be one of your favourites. That's very kind for you to say that. Thank you very much. And I'm really pleased that you enjoyed watching the video on Saturday morning. Thank you for telling me that. Cynthia Miller says, hi Emma, another lovely video. I would love to see all the things you get rid of after each decluttering session. We are expecting several inches of snow at about 2 a.m. on Tuesday. This is not this is not common in South Central Texas, so everyone panics and no one knows how to get ready or how to drive, and everything closes. Yeah, we get people panic here when it snows. You have to let me know if it did snow and whether it snowed that much. Several inches were predicted. That'd be interesting to know. One of my friends is in America and they've had a lot of snow. Now, I would like to get better at showing you all what I get rid of, but I've got to be honest with you, it's something that I struggle with. So if I show you a video of all the individual things that I'm getting rid of, and then I later see that video, this is going to sound very strange to very many people, but I start feeling like I need to go back and get those things back that are mine. So what I'm better just to do myself is put them in a bag, not look in the bag again, and get rid of the bag. So I do try to show you as I'm sort of sorting things out and I'm putting things to one side, and then you will see me take the big bag out. But I know it would be much more fun for you to see all the things in the bag. But I do have to think about how I will react to that. I did have a situation, you might remember a while ago, that I started thinking about a certain item of my daughter's that I'd got rid of. And I did actually feel that I had to go back to the charity shop and look for the item. And I can't stop. I think Brooke once asked me, have you seen your items for sale? I don't stop in that charity shop to look. I don't want to see my things for sale. I don't know whether this is just me being a bit weird or whether other people have anything like that, but that's just how I feel, I suppose. So I'm nearly at the end of the video. So thank you so much for watching my video, for your likes, for your comments, for your suggestions. I very much appreciate it. Now right at the very end, if you've stayed this long, you'll see a little clip of what we spent some time doing on Saturday. So my daughter has put together a film, and it's a film of the Sylvanian family, otter family, and their quest to find
We need Courtney Cove, Carrie Cove, Myra Cove and Colin Cove, including the pram. Perfect on set. Right, make sure we've got Courtney Cove on the left. Need it to focus. Perfect. I'd say that's a good focus. And
it's definitely his best side, isn't it?
Yeah. And recording